My name's Daniel.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Jake.
And together, we are Cinema Brawls, I guess?
I'm not talking about comic books or
But why does
novels.
it matter where they come from? The matter is what happened when they got here.
Yeah,
Right, but the problem is that, yeah.
Welcome back to Cinema Brawls, to our final episode of the all-time villains bracket. It has been exhausting. And it's been long, but it's been fun. It's been interesting. We hope you all have enjoyed it as well. We are going to go through round 3, semifinals, and the final 4, reveal our bets, all in one action-packed episode. Let's not waste any more time. Jake, do you think it should be Joffrey Baratheon or Zemo?
Baron Zemo.
I think Joffrey.
What do you think?
I like Civil War a lot, but
No, here's the thing.
Zemo is not the most interesting MCU villain.
No, he's not interesting, but he is the best, if that makes sense. Not necessarily in the MCU.
He
but
gets away with
here's
it,
the
basically.
thing. At this point, we need to be considering important things, and Joffrey is a brat. He's a spoiled brat who gets his way. That's all he is.
It's true.
He's just really powerful brat. Zemo was methodical, insanely planned out, did what he set out to do, and had a tragic backstory to the point where he almost killed himself. He's got more in every aspect going for him than Joffrey, except maybe style.
Yeah, I would agree. Joffrey's a lot more recognizable at very least. Daniel, what's your argument?
I think that Joffrey is evil, but he's the burgeoning evil. One of the things that makes him so scary is that he's just a kid, and he's doing all of this crap. What would happen if he did become an adult? How would he be? Like, what kind of not only ruler would he be, but what kind of just a person would he be?
True. Now, to that end, we can't see what he's going to be.
True.
Zemo's coming back in the Falcon Winter Soldier show, and we can see him do pretty much everything he did in Civil War, just again, and maybe even better. So for that, and I'd rather watch any Marvel movie over Game of Thrones. However, he's not going to make it past the next round because it's coming between the Joker and Kaiser Soze.
Joker.
Yeah, Kaiser Soze's alright, but I mean, it's the Joker.
Joker
I hate
wins.
that.
Scar or Anton Chigurh?
Anton Chigurh.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang it.
Scar is okay.
Scar's
I think
dope.
you like him too much.
I do, and I want to have as a candidate to resurrect.
Right, and the problem is Anton Chigurh, again, is just somebody who strikes fear deep into your soul. And the only reason No Country for Old Men was good was because of him.
Now this is interesting. All three of these all start with C. Calvin Candy, The Child Catcher, or Cell.
Cell.
They're all pronounced differently too.
Yeah, you know what? Child Catcher's probably gone as far as he needs to.
I agree.
Calvin Candy's
So is-
great, but he's not Cell.
But he's not Cell, and that's his biggest downfall in this.
Calvin Candy was having a hard time against Jack, and I agree he shouldn't be going any further.
Yeah.
I don't
Cell.
think Cell should either, but compared to these two,
Cell was thought out and overpowered. And along with that, he's charismatic. He's got everything you want from a villain, and it's just so entertaining to watch.
You want to see me drink this guy?
we could get into quoting Dragon Ball Z all day. We got to move on to Pierre Despero. Pierre Despero or The Thing.
Pierre Despero.
It's true. The Thing's just a monster.
Yeah, Pierre Despero, who honestly probably shouldn't have made it this far, but he's
Compared to who
he's a
against,
fun
though.
villain.
He's just so much fun.
He is,
I like
and
it.
it's honestly my favorite show, Psych.
Love
I think
Psych.
one of the villains deserves to get, this far at least.
Darth Vader or Captain Barbossa? This is tricky, even though I feel like the answer is still obvious.
Yeah.
I disagree with you, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I think this one is a really tough one.
This one, I think, is decided on the legacy afterwards. Barbossa.
Captain
Barbossa went way soft in a way that I don't think he should have been at all. Vader went soft, but for a good reason.
I agree with you, but
He was more redeemed at the end.
Redeemed rather than...
But like even the prequels, which are okay, like it shows him going from like a good kid to then the most, for lack of a better term, evil thing in the galaxy.
Nowhere is it better shown what Vader's potential is than in Rogue One.
When he's
wrecks.
unstoppable.
He wrecks those rebels, and it's awesome. And that's what Vader is.
true. But Captain Barbossa is, I don't know. I think there's just something about him that makes him more humanized than Vader was.
He has a lot more sympathy, and the philosophies he preaches are more relatable than Vader.
I feel like I relate to him more than I relate to Vader. I mean, Vader was good, and he's great, but I always thought Star Wars was overhyped anyway.
It kind of is.
And Vader's great,
Kind of.
and he's insanely iconic. He's
Very.
probably the most iconic villain ever.
He's on the top of every all-time villains list you can Google.
Yeah.
And, which is fair, but Captain Barbossa
is fun as
strikes
a
more of
villain.
a chord with me.
Like he's a good, fun villain, especially in the first one when he's like a straight villain.
Yeah, and that's true. That's the problem, though, is you have to keep it in the first one. If you talk about Barbossa for any other movie, it's weaker. It's a weaker argument.
Vader
Which-
shines because of all of the movies.
Yeah.
Vader pulls together through everything, so you're probably right. It's probably Vader.
We have to
I would
decide
vote
something.
Vader.
But it's sad to see Barbossa go, but
Might resurrect him, maybe.
maybe. All right, next up we've got Claude Frollo or Sauron.
Frollo.
Next, we got our second triple.
Aku, Count Olaf, or Azula.
Wow, all A's.
Wait.
Olaf is spelled with an A. Shut up.
Count Alof.
Count Alof.
Not Aku, sorry.
Aku is fun, but he's
He
not
is.
a villain.
Yeah.
He's not memorable enough.
And Count Olaf is silly and seriously, like, dude, get off their back.
Unhinged, but yeah.
Like,
But it's Azula.
But it's Azula.
it's gotta be
It's Azula. Azula is evil. She's calculating.
crazy.
She's crazy, and she's powerful, and that's important.
Very. I'm just gonna keep going. Next up, Hades or Kilgrave.
Take over my spot.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Hades or Kilgrave? It's Hades.
It's Hades.
All right, Slade or Voldemort?
Oh,
Oh man.
I'm inclined to see Slade go down finally.
Between the two, yeah, probably.
Palpatine or Thanos?
We already have Vader, so I kind of want to say Thanos.
Yeah, Palpatine's good,
Gonna
but
move up Thanos. I'd rather watch Palpatine. I think Palpatine's a much better
I don't know what you have against Thanos.
Is it just the hype? Are you one of those that like, oh, everybody likes it, so I have to not?
No, don't get me wrong. I
Oh,
think
hipster.
Thanos is a good villain. Maybe it's my fault because I had such high expectations for him that I didn't get that.
How did he
Especially-
not meet those
Like,
expectations?
especially for Endgame. Endgame, like
In
overall was good. Thanos himself let me down at Endgame.
A little, but you gotta think Endgame was just building off of what had already happened in Infinity War.
sure.
Infinity War was Thanos' story. He was unstoppable.
Mhm.
It took the entire anybody that fought with the Avengers, like it. You know the scene.
Here's the thing.
It took all of that to bring him down.
Here's the thing. That was 3 years from before Thanos, from before what happened in Endgame. So, or actually 4 years, I think. Yeah.
I don't know.
4 years
That's
before. So
really wobbly,
you can't base Thanos off of what he was in Endgame, because the more
It's technically a different thing.
the more developed,
Which is
the more
what-
mature, stronger Thanos was the Infinity War Thanos.
Because we're not the same people we were 4 years ago.
No,
I'm not the
right.
same person
Not
I
even
was
kind of.
1 year ago, you know?
Right.
And that's what kind of let me down, is I wish that there would have been that big climactic fight with the Thanos that had won.
That's fair. I can see that.
And
That's the thing is, though, he had one, and he didn't want to fight anymore. We had to bring the Thanos that was still blood hungry.
Right, which is, like, it was fine for the story, I just wish it was different.
Yeah, but you're basing this off of Endgame. I think you should keep it to Infinity War, which was Thanos' movie.
True.
Sideshow Bob or Bill Cipher or Doc Ock.
I'd vote Doc Ock.
Not Sideshow.
No, not Sideshow.
Bill Cipher, I'll be honest, I'm surprised he's made it this far.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's cool, but it's obviously Doc Ock.
It is.
Yeah, Doc Ock.
Do it.
John Doe or Pennywise?
Ah.
I'd do John Doe.
I'm more scared of John Doe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pennywise made me laugh a lot.
Pennywise is creepy,
It's creepy.
but
I
John Doe
like
is
it, the movie,
psychotic.
better than Seven. But
Yeah,
I agree.
but the villain...
the villain, you're right. John Doe was a lot more like by the end when he walks in with his fingerprints cut off, and it's like I sat there and watched that and think, what is with this guy?
It's true, but
And the fact that
Pennywise...
he won.
Go put up John Doe.
Judge Doom or Wrath? Wrath.
Wrath.
Yeah.
Judge Doom shouldn't have got this far.
There's a lot of people who shouldn't have gotten this far that are getting crossed off pretty easy.
Okay.
Davy Jones or Hannibal?
Davy Jones.
I love Hannibal. All iterations of Hannibal. I just freaking... I think that
It's
he's
because
so
your
interesting.
family is from cannibals, and so you just feel the need to associate with cannibals.
It's not that I feel the need to associate
You
with
were named
cannibals.
after a cannibal family. You said that before we started recording.
Yes, I was.
Right. So you're a cannibal, therefore you like the cannibal.
Hannibal poses a lot of interesting philosophies.
You like him because his name.
But Davy Jones is a lot more interesting, menacing.
Their logic is flawless.
Flawless. Well, Davy Jones it is.
Our logic?
Just
Or
about
Cannibal's
my,
logic?
just about my name being like me liking Hannibal because I am also a cannibal.
Okay, the Xenomorph, my doll, or Hans Gruber.
Ooh.
Here's my thing. I
Not-
feel like
not
they're.
the Xenomorph.
I feel like all three are mid-tier villains,
Yeah.
I feel like
and I feel like they're all about the same.
Vidal was a lot more demented than Hans Gruber.
yeah, I'd probably go with Vidal too.
All right, Vidal it is.
What were you thinking though, Jake?
Hans Gruber.
No.
I like Hans Gruber.
I liked Die Hard.
Not the Xenomorph though, we can agree.
Xenomorph is really cool looking.
Okay, moving on up.
Moving on up.
So Zemo or the Joker? So the Joker.
Joker.
The Joker. Zemo had
Zemo
a
shouldn't
good
have
run.
gone that far.
Zemo had a good run.
Zemo had a good run.
I think the Joker. I mean, nothing was gonna stop the Joker.
Um,
And
Anton-
we're gonna talk about the Joker on the next round. for
Anton
sure.
Chigurh or Cell?
Cell.
Cell.
Interesting.
Yeah, Anton
Interesting.
Chigurh is good, but he's not.
He's not Cell. That's
not
his,
memorable
that's his
enough.
biggest flaw.
Perfect Cell has. He's perfect. He's a villain that is interesting, lasted a long time, and
So funny.
was just he's really
And he's
fun.
just
Again, we're talking about the DBZ
DBZ
Abridged,
Abridged mostly.
which I know isn't like a real TV show.
I
but
counted.
when you can create a villain
Like that.
like that,
from pieces of an already established show.
right? And Cell's already a good villain in it, but it's probably just his wit, honestly.
It really.
But he also does a lot of intense things that
And the
earn
fact
him
that, like,
spot.
with his wit and strength, he's able to, like, beat everyone. It was only with cheap shots that they were able to survive.
Right.
We've talked about Cell a lot.
We have. We haven't said a thing about the Joker. We just let him go straight.
I don't
to the
think
top.
we've needed to.
Right. We're gonna talk about him on the next one.
We will. Pierre Despereaux or Darth Vader?
Darth Vader.
Yeah,
Vader.
Darth Vader between the two.
Yeah, that one's kind of a blowout.
Yeah. I like Pierre Despereaux, but
I do.
Okay. Okay.
He's no Vader.
he's no Vader.
Frollo or Azula?
Frollo.
Frollo.
Really?
Do you think Azula?
I
I think
Azula.
Frollo is demented. I think he's definitely creepy and has some terrible motivation.
in my opinion, he's like the best Disney villain.
But
I
at the
love
same time, Azula is more fun to watch, and she's just as cold.
I think it comes back to what we've discussed before, earlier in the bracket, of Frollo had control for most of the time that we saw him. Azula got progressively and more had less control.
She was just a teenager and kind of acted off of her emotions.
Yeah.
But so did Frollo. Frollo acted off of his sinful desires.
Frollo put off his emotions for so long that when they came to the surface all at once,
And that's the thing.
I feel like that's relatable.
Azula's like crazy, but Frollo's need for control. He's had control his entire life, and he's found sin and depravity everywhere, but refuses to look at himself. And because of that, and that's not good. He already thinks that he's as good as it's gonna get. And because of that, he doesn't see the sin inside him. And seeing Esmeralda brings out this lack of control that scares him. And because of that, because of his need to have that control, he kills so many people.
Yeah, and I think the relatable thing about Frollo is that he's kind of an exaggerated version of probably something we all have a little bit of inside ourselves.
Exactly.
And that's terrifying. That makes him terrifying because he's relatable in a way.
it's true.
I mean, nobody's going like that extreme.
Some people
Some
do.
people-
But I mean, we all have things that are wrong with us, and a lot of times we don't want to look at it, and sometimes it can get a little out of control.
Oh my
It
god.
represents a lack of control in ourselves.
Interesting connections we make here at Cinema
Yeah.
Brawls. Let's move on to Hades and Voldemort.
Hades.
I think Voldemort.
Hades is literally Satan.
Hades is
Voldemort's
not really Satan.
Voldemort's a metaphor for Satan. I'm kidding. I don't know. He might be.
I mean, the snake
The-
thing. Yeah, he is.
The followers of Voldemort are called Death Eaters.
He's literally represented by a snake.
He is. See, Hades is the more silly villain and a very iconic Disney villain, and I think in that bracket he would do extremely well.
But I just think
Probably doesn't beat Voldemort.
Probably not.
You're right. Voldemort got too much done.
He did get a lot done. Hades tried to do one very
Simple task and
very
couldn't.
serious thing.
Yeah, and he's a lot more lighthearted and fun to watch, but you're right.
and he's James Woods, and
Yeah.
like he's funny in this movie.
Voldemort is just terrifying to look at.
Voldemort, like
He's
Hades,
worse in the book.
Yeah. Hades like tried to kill Hercules so that he could have this hostile takeover of the gods. Voldemort killed children to split his soul.
Right.
Anyways,
Thanos or Doc Ock?
I'm sorry, Daniel.
Doc Ock was a good villain.
Doc Ock
Is he
was a
really
good villain.
that good?
But was he really that
I
much of
think
a
so.
villain?
Yeah.
Just move up Thanos, it's fine. It's fine, it's okay, it's fine.
We do talk a lot about Doc Ock in our Spider-Man video.
Freaking love Doc Ock.
Linked here. John Doe or Wrath?
Wrath.
I'd go with
I
Wrath.
agree.
John Doe is okay. I don't think he deserved to go as far as he did.
I think he did, but it should
I
have
think
been
he
here.
definitely deserved it, but it's interesting that Wrath is such an iconic evil villain in anime that he's made it this far on a villains bracket of all villains.
It's true. And the thing about him is too, I mean, he's Wrath, but he never really got over the top.
He did.
No, he has that control.
He does. He has control of his own wrath, which is interesting.
Like, you know
Wrath
that,
is like the single emotion you can't control usually.
Right.
and the fact that he's able to, it kind of reminds me in the first Avengers movie when they're like, well, how do you control the Hulk? He's like, well, I'm always angry.
Mhm.
That's Wrath.
Yeah.
He can control everything because he's always furious.
Yeah.
It's true. All right. Davy Jones or Captain Vidal?
Davy Jones.
I agree.
I'd go with Vidal, but okay.
Vidal was a good villain, but it was just the one movie that isn't necessarily a super well-known movie. Well, I mean, it kind of is.
Davy Jones is an interesting villain. I thought Vidal was more interesting and
Davy
had
Jones
more.
looks better than any other villain, I think.
Davy
on this board.
Jones was more sinister.
Davy Jones was more sinister, but he seriously, especially at the end, just reminded me of a beat puppy. Just like
Towards the
everything's-
third movie, yeah.
Everything
it did.
bad has happened to me, and it's not fair, and I can't believe Calypso didn't love me.
He does get
Not being
very
loved is very hard.
Joker cell.
Okay, let's talk about this. I know who's gonna win.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead.
We've talked a lot about Cell, but here's why the Joker is. He says he's chaos, but he's really not.
He is chaos, but it's planned chaos.
It is. He says he doesn't have a plan, but he clearly had a plan. He set up everything from locking himself up with a guy and a cell phone to, use an explosive to get out, the Rachel and Harvey thing that he set up. He methodically turned Harvey Dent into a villain just to watch Gotham suffer.
I think Joker has a plan up to a certain point. He knows how people react because of his reactions in the past, mysterious past, whatever. He knows that if he plans out these specific triggers, a certain type of chaos will happen. He'll plan out and perform the trigger and then sit back and watch the chaos however it happens. Because however it happens, it's still chaos.
Yeah, and that's kind of his thing is when you have a lack of motivation like that, when all you want to do is watch the world burn, that's terrifying.
It is.
You don't know what he's going to do.
Literally a wild card.
And and he has no reason to have any sort of sympathy towards anyone at all. And it's like, how do you stop that? Especially when you can't get to him, when you can't outthink him, because the Joker is brilliant.
He really is.
And he uses that to do things that nobody can predict. Not even Batman, the greatest detective in the world.
And yes, he's technically stopped by Batman, but it's like he says at the end, that's an immovable object versus an unstoppable force.
What's interesting to think about is we don't know how many little triggers Joker kind of planted before getting caught. Like, he probably expected he would be caught eventually because he knows the type of person
He expected
Batman
it at
is.
least once.
It's true. And so all he could do at that point was set up as much as he can. And so when he did get caught, literally sit back and watch all the chaos. Which kind of unfurled in Batman and Dark Knight Rises. So there's the Joker for you. Let's move on to what I think will be difficult. Vader and Frollo.
See, one of the things that I love about Darth Vader is that he is a bad guy, but then he has this nice redemption arc where he goes from being basically at his lowest point for years, where he knows that he's a bad guy, and he knows that what he's done in the grand scheme of things is wrong, but he doesn't think that there's a way he could possibly redeem himself until the last moments, when he can, and he does.
What I think is interesting about Darth Vader is in the original trilogy that he gets first introduced and the hype first started, he really doesn't do much. You're right. It's mostly about his redemption. And yet, he still somehow became one of the most iconic villains of all time to this day from not doing much. And I don't know if it's just the world was starved of great villains back then or what, but
And he
I think
just
that's
struck
a
a
good
chord with people. Like, he has this, again, great redemption arc where even the most evil people have the chance for redemption.
Which is true, but I mean, in that scheme doesn't make him a villain as much.
And see, that's what I'm getting to.
He's a good character.
He's a good character. Frollo has no redeeming qualities.
No.
Everything about him is as bad as it gets.
Yeah.
And especially for a Disney movie, he is evil.
He's messed up.
He's messed
Something
up.
about Frollo too, which is terrifying, is that throughout this he thinks he's genuinely the best person alive, when in fact he's honestly the worst.
And that's like the point of the movie is who's the monster and who's the man. Is it the Hunchback or is it Frollo? And Frollo is a monster.
Yeah.
that's true.
I think Frollo's a better villain.
Frollo's an more evil dude. and we're gonna piss a lot of people off for knocking Vader down, but
I'm sorry,
I think it has to
Dad.
happen.
I don't think Vader needs to be at the top of every list.
No, not necessarily.
He's a
great
great
villain. I mean,
villain.
he made it this far.
He's in the top 8, and since you just quoted that, I think Voldemort should beat over Thanos.
Well, it's great, but you're wrong.
I mean,
Now, here's the thing. Harry Potter has been done, whether in the books or the movies, for a while now, about 5-6 years, right?
sure.
And Thanos came out this last year.
Right.
His big thing happened this last year.
And he's big, but is that just
But
because
is
it's
that-
recent?
Is there that last ability?
Yes. Hold on. Absolutely. First of all,
we can't know until it happens.
You
but
just
Right.
can't know.
But listen to this. Voldemort isn't even that old. He's still very recent. The
It's
last
within
Harry
the
Potter
last
movie
10
wasn't
years.
that long ago.
right.
And Thanos, while still recent, you can't even compare that because he hasn't been given the chance yet.
That's
But if you think about the year between Endgame and Infinity War, he was the most talked about anything. on
But you could say that same
YouTube.
thing between the Harry Potter Part 1 and Harry Potter
No, you
Part 2.
absolutely cannot.
Oh yeah, no, it was the biggest thing in the world.
Sure, but it
Yeah,
wasn't.
but you had books to go off of. It's like, well, we know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
the problem
Howard,
is,
yeah.
he is not that talked
Well,
about.
we know what was going to happen with Thanos too. Not the specifics. Same with Harry
specifics.
Potter.
No.
But we knew what was going to happen. The good guys were going to win.
Voldemort at no point was talked about in the same depth or degree as Thanos was.
No, I was not on the internet scene back when the Voldemort between part 1 and part 2 of Deathly Hallows was happening. So I can't confirm or deny that. But I understand where you're coming
And-
from. The
and
sheer
here's-
volume of the people interested in it was
Yeah.
different.
And here's the thing, Voldemort sure gets talked about, but when you're talking about Harry Potter movies, you talk about Harry and Hermione and Ron and mostly them,
And Snape.
along with
Surprised
Voldemort
Snape
and
wasn't
Dumbledore.
there.
Dumbledore
Because
gets
he was
talked
just-
about
he was a good
so
guy.
much, but Voldemort is he's part of that main cast, but Thanos is that he was what was talked about. They didn't talk about anything else. I think we might need to go through the criteria and discuss each point.
Style.
I think Thanos had a better style.
Voldemort's more menacing. but
Voldemort's more
Thanos
menacing.
is more intimidating.
Think about the way Thanos was introduced in Infinity War.
That was good introduction.
Yeah, just that whole scene, the dark silhouette, the evil monologue.
Yeah, no, like he had a good introduction, but then also think about Voldemort as think about his introduction. He was introduced purely as he who must not be named.
That was what I was gonna say next. Was
Like his
part-
legacy in the books itself was
Yeah.
that people were still scared even after he was dead to say his name.
it's kind of interesting because we're basically watching the same villain at different points in their history. We start the Harry Potter story well after Voldemort did his thing and his reputation precedes him. We're watching Thanos make that reputation. Like,
Right.
I'm sure in the MCU, like, Thanos is now he who should not be named because of what he did, you know?
And he did a lot.
Yeah, but neither of the movies, neither of the villains exist in a bubble. See, Thanos is a great villain for that series. Voldemort is a great villain for that series, and you just can't compare the two side by side without understanding the context behind both of them.
Sure, but you get both of that in the movies. And you kind of have to work with what you're given from that.
Yes, but I don't
Because
think
the
that
Thanos
it's...
in the comics is nothing compared to the Thanos they did for the movie.
Right.
Right, and I'm not talking about the comics necessarily. I'm talking about in just the movie universes, not the books, not the comics, just the movie universes. Thanos is a good villain. I really like him, but I don't think that he was better for the story than Voldemort was for the Harry Potter. I think that overall, Harry Potter's Voldemort was a better villain in
their
every way
universe.
possible than Thanos was for the MCU.
But I think if that is the case, which is a big if, it's only because the Harry Potter universe has less going for it and it's less interesting. Voldemort was the most interesting thing about the Harry Potter universe in that sense. Whereas, I mean, in the Marvel universe, you have so many exciting things to pay attention to or give credit to, and then Thanos just steals the show from all of it.
True. I
But
think
between the two, I still think that Voldemort's a much better villain.
Right. I think it's Thanos.
I know, and it's down to me, a tiebreaker.
Probably resurrect one of these two.
We could. What's the problem? I'm just kidding. There is a problem.
Yeah, you want to pick something there?
I know. I think I'm gonna vote Thanos because of what they had to do to take him down. Voldemort's great, and
To get taken down by a child.
using Expelliarmus.
Right. Voldemort was a tough contender.
Whew, that was tough. Let it be known. Good freak.
I hate you.
I know you do. I'd rather watch the MCU than Harry Potter, although I love both.
All right, well, Wrath or Davy Jones?
Still Davy Jones. Wrath was a part of a bigger whole, and Wrath was the best part of that whole, for sure. But Davy Jones was awesome.
Davy Jones was cool. He had a great look to him, and especially in the second Pirates of the Caribbean, he was awesome.
Again, I think best looking villain out of this entire bracket. When he first got revealed, it's like, whoa, that's freaky.
But I just think that Wrath is such a good villain. I think that
He's menacing.
He's menacing, he's intimidating, and he has that control over himself in a way that would be impossible for anyone else. To have that level of just hatred all the time and to be able to control it.
Jake, you're the tiebreaker.
Well, what do you have for Davy Jones?
Davy Jones, and what I mentioned a lot in my Pirates Perfect 10 was that it was a risk, I guess. And just, it was mysterious. Who is this Davy Jones guy? It's this huge rumor of the sea. If you die at sea, you go to Davy Jones' locker. How do we personify that legend? And they made it in a way that no one would have expected, but was very satisfying once they did. And he was menacing, and it was just, he was scary. The Flying Dutchman was scary.
He had a very big sense of, he was very ominous.
Very ominous.
If I had to pick between the two, I think it's insanely close, but it is the sense, I kind of agree with that. They did a really insane job
Oh, yeah,
with
they did a
something
great
that's
job.
just a legend.
Yeah.
Whereas this is an anime, and that is it's amazing for what they did. The greatest anime in the world. I don't watch a lot of anime, but I love Full Metal Alchemist, and he was intense.
I watched too much anime.
But I think I'm gonna vote Davy Jones.
Okay.
But you're right. I mean, just the sheer volume of the villains literally anywhere else.
Right.
Voldemort's our resurrection one. So our
Yeah,
top
we-
five,
We picked Voldemort to be our resurrection.
our top five are now the Joker, Frollo, Davy Jones, Voldemort, and Thanos.
Now we just gotta pick an order.
It's top five.
Who is the least out of these villains?
Davy Jones.
Davy Jones.
So Davy Jones is probably gonna get kicked off the list.
The next highest from Davy Jones, as in the fourth lowest, in my opinion, should be Frollo. Now, he is a sick man. Very evil, very twisted, but how many people really know who he is, let alone think of the movie as a whole very fondly?
Right.
Yeah,
It's a great movie, underrated for sure.
Yeah.
it's underrated. He as a villain is underrated, and he deserved a better movie.
he deserves where he got here, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it ends here.
Yeah.
Davy Jones, Frollo.
Frollo is great. He killed a lot of gypsies.
Which is
But I mean,
awful.
people are doing that already.
Which is, but that doesn't excuse
Right.
the awfulness
And it's
of
bad,
doing that.
but
And that is just
Right. But
disgusting.
I mean, everybody up here has killed a lot of people.
That's true.
It's true.
So
If we're going on body count, he probably has one of the lowest.
Right.
But the reasoning behind that body count is just like, see, if you just look at the 5. Embodiment of chaos, embodiment of totalitarian authority, embodiment of death or trying to control death, embodiment of trying to control death, awkward boner.
I was not expecting that at all.
Don't your parents watch this show?
No, they don't.
All right.
If you do, Mom, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So here's my number 3, Voldemort, because he already lost to Thanos, and
Yeah.
I think Thanos doesn't beat the Joker.
Thanos is the closest to the Joker, but you're right. And 2 and 3 will probably flip between Thanos and Voldemort,
And
depending who you ask.
Oh, I'm gonna put Frollo there.
so,
Okay.
because of the order that we know everything goes in, it's Joker, Thanos, Voldemort, Frollo, Davy Jones is the top 5.
Yes, Joker as a whole is the perfect villain.
We've talked about him a lot.
We've talked about him a
He's
lot.
the embodiment of chaos. He doesn't care about death or controlling death. He doesn't care about totalitarianism or fascist control. He doesn't care. He doesn't care.
The only
That guy don't give an F about nothing.
The only reason why he does anything is purely to screw with Batman.
Yeah.
I know, and it's
And it's
at
awesome.
first it was like, you know what? I had a bad day and nobody cared. I'm gonna make everybody else in the world have a bad day and not care. And then when Batman shows up, it's like, okay, I want specifically this man to have a bad day, and I actually care a lot.
Well, guys, we've talked a lot about it. Our top 4 list is the Joker from The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger's. Number 2 is Thanos from Infinity War. Number 3 is Voldemort from the Harry Potter series. And number 4 is Claude Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, with Davy Jones as a memorable
Honorable.
mention. And
All right.
now we'll pull out our lists and see who won the list.
Daniel thought that Joker would be number 1. He got that right. He felt Claude Frollo should have been number 2, followed by Humperdinck, Hannibal for the move from Silence of the Lambs, and the resurrection would be Hannibal from the TV show.
See, and after discussing him, I realized fairly quickly that I was going to be really low.
I know, Humperdinck got up the first round.
I know, which I hated, and I think he should have at least
Again,
lasted until Voldemort.
The nature of
The brackets.
Brackets.
Yeah, no, I gotcha.
I thought it was gonna go Thanos as number 1, so I'm wrong immediately. Followed by the Joker, Vader, Davy Jones, and Scar was my resurrection. Because I didn't expect Frollo to be in the top 4, and I wanted a Disney villain.
How many
there.
people did you get in the top 4?
3.
3 out of the 4? It's pretty good. And you didn't get the resurrection.
No. Daniel got 2, and also didn't get the resurrection.
Yeah.
Right.
Jake.
I don't think any of us got the resurrection.
Probably not.
Because after fighting for Voldemort, we all realized, oh crap, this guy's
Interesting.
pretty good.
Your resurrection.
Yeah.
Jake's resurrection was Magneto.
Oh, funny.
Interesting.
Oh, I see. I see.
But
where you're going with this.
Jake got Joker as the winner, and the other 3 for his top 4 were Frollo, Thanos, and Davy Jones. So he had all 4 of the top 4.
All 4 of the top 5. Well, 4 of the top 5.
I had 4 of the top 5.
You had all 4 of the top 4. You just missed the resurrection.
Oh,
He
yeah,
didn't-
you're right.
He didn't have Voldemort, did he?
Well,
Did you have Voldemort?
Voldemort was the resurrection.
Voldemort was
I had the top
resurrection.
4.
He had all the top 4, just not the
I
resurrection.
guessed everything from every bracket.
You also guessed Joker would win. Jake won the bracket.
I did. Which means I get a t-shirt.
You get the very first Cinema Brawls t-shirt, which Jake will wear in our next brawl.
Make it my size, please.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Great.
Thank you so much for watching. It has been exhausting for us, but I hope it was fun for you. Comment below and like and subscribe and all that jazz. Good night!
Bye.